Ngayon, meron na mga pangalan na ilalagay. Naglipaan na siya at hindi mo maman kung saan nagmumula at hindi mo ma-exercise ngayon. Yung kung naisip mo wag nang padalhan o tanggalin ka sa database nila, hindi mo sila matrace kung nasaan sila.
Parang nakakapagtaka sa nila, nakukuha yung number mo. Yun. Tapos baka nalilik yung mga information namin sa kung saan na hindi mo naman alam kung saan galing.
Personally, ako mismo nakatanggap ng text, I think August 12. Tapos pangalan ko talaga yun nandun. Yung full name ko, it's something na hindi ko naman basta-basta ipinamimigay, no? So, alarming siya.
Pang hindi mo ina-expect eh. Yun yung mas nakakatakot dun eh. You'll never know ano na yung next mong makukuhang message. And hindi mo na alam kung alin yung totoo sa hindi. Mas nakakatakot kasi ngayon, name pa na. Pero if it depends dun sa mas personal information mo.
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time, I'm Jess De Los Santos.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. The big story tonight.
More and more individuals have been receiving personalized scam text messages, raising heavy concerns of a possible data leak.
To address this, the National Privacy Commission says it has started investigating text scam reports. Mon Gualvez with the big story.
HR manager Gene receives not less than 10 scam messages per day. What worries him is that before, they were just generic messages. Now, they're becoming more personalized and even has his full name.
Hassle. Kasi parang hindi mo ina-expect eh. Yun yung mas nakakatakot dun eh. Kasi ngayon, name pa lang. Pero if it depends dun sa mas personal information mo,
Gene is just among the many mobile phone users now complaining that they're receiving personalized scam messages. According to former National Privacy Commission Chief Raymond Liboro, it's a form of smishing or pretending to be personnel of a reputable company via text for the purpose of getting the recipient to divulge personal information. Liboro looks into 3 reasons why smishing is so rampant these days. First, data brokers. This is legal and they're hired by companies to compose or package promos as text messages that they will blast to prospective customers. They also have a database that they have possibly done through research or which their companies collated. Second, SMS casters. They typically use phone or computer software to send SMS to many, usually with an unidentified SIM card. And third, the SMS blasters. It's a locational means of sending messages where the text only gets sent to people in the blaster's location. Given that there are many means to do smishing, tracing the culprit is now also getting harder.
Naglipaan na siya at hindi mo maman kung saan nagmumula at hindi mo ma-exercise ngayon. Yung kung naisip mo wag nang padalhan o tanggalin ka sa database nila, hindi mo sila matrace kung nasaan sila.
As a long-term solution, Liboro suggests a whole-of-government and multi-sectoral approach. Liboro also suggests to continue the SIM card registration. But while that's waiting, Liboro suggests to require SMS senders to register first.
Kailangan pag ikaw ay nag-send na lumalabas mismo yung pangalan ng kumpanya. Automatic, pag hindi ka rehistrado sa SMS sender portal, hindi pwedeng gumamit ng SMS.
For their part, the NTC has since tasked telcos to text blast warnings not to believe in SMS offering jobs, rewards, or money even if they bear the full names of recipients. The agency has also tasked all regional officers to actively warn the public of the text scam for a period of 1 week. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, We Are One News.
Now here to shed some light on the personalized spam text messages, we have with us via Zoom, Cybersecurity analyst Art Samaniego. Good evening and welcome to the big story, Art. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Okay, first, give us an idea here. I mean, spam messages have been proliferating since the pandemic started and has evolved in various ways. And now you have these messages containing names. What could be the possible data source here?
So, before, scammers use the shotgun method. So they use SMS casters, SMS blasters to send messages. But now, they have leveled up. They're now using our names. Tapos ang nakikita namin dito, the source could be data leaks from companies or from messaging apps. So yun lang ang nakikita nating dahilan, because telco will not sell our data to anyone because they will be accountable to the National Privacy Commission. And the Philippines National Privacy Commission is one of the strictest privacy commission in the world. So mananagot sila pag binenta nila yan. So hindi pwedeng ang telco ang source nito. And lately, there was no data leak from either Globe or Smart. So hindi galing sa kanila. But there were data leaks in the past like Facebook. In 2019, there were 88,000 Facebook users in the Philippines that was leaked with phone numbers, address, names, complete names, and company. So ito yung pwede maging source ng mga scammers.
Art, have we been able to identify possible or close in on possible data leaks and sources, given the format of the text messages, what has been revealed, and or are contact tracing forms a part of that list?
So contact tracing forms, definitely not. So hindi siya kasama. So safe yung mga contact tracing form na for this problem. So in 2020 there was a problem where scammers send job offers. That was because of the leak in WhatsApp. Pero ngayon, etong nangyayari ngayon, my wife is using different names in every social media accounts that he has. And we noticed that the one sending the message and mentioning the full name, it's using the one messaging app. So particular dun sa app na yun yung pangalan niya. And it's not only exclusive to her, pero yung mga ibang cybersecurity analysts and cybersecurity practitioners also noticed that the name being used in sending that scam SMS messages came from Viber. So ito yung tinitignan namin, although we have no definite proof yet, pero parang sa Viber nanggagaling siya. So sisiguraduhin pa namin to, titignan pa namin. Pero lahat ng mga nakatanggap ng scam SMS message na may complete name, when we check, usually meron silang Viber accounts.
Now, Art, how wide is this? I mean, you did mention this is an experience of your wife. At the same time, other cybersecurity experts say na-experience na rin ng marami-raming tao. But give us an idea, really, how wide is this? At the same time, is it really just Viber? Because there are some who theorize or at least speculate that, you know, this might actually be sourced from e-wallet platforms as well.
Well, my wife and my friends have e-wallet accounts also. Pero yung pangalan, specific yung pangalan. So iba-iba talaga yung pangalan na ginagamit nila. So most probably, as of now, all information that we have says that this is not coming from e-wallet or shopping apps or the contact tracing forms.
Okay, with that said, how dangerous is this for users of that messaging app? Does this mean that even our messages are in danger of being leaked around?
No, it's not. Because Viber messages are safe, it's encrypted, so walang problema doon sa mga messages. The problem is, they have identified that your number belongs to your name. So that's your name plus your number is PII or personally identifiable information, which should be protected. So as of now, although we have no proof yet, we're looking at Viber, pero sana hindi. Pero yun yung all our information now points to Viber.
How do you think this scenario, at least should this not be remedied, how do you think this would escalate? Now we have names. What could be the possible future scenario here when it comes to spam text messages?
So the purpose of scammers, why they're sending text messages and fake emails or messages, is that to get your accounts, to get your trust, so that you would divulge your name or login name and passwords. So yun lang yung gusto nila. So before, we call it the shotgun approach, wherein they just blast messages to anyone and then hoping that somebody would answer back. Pero ngayon, meron ng pangalan. And because of that, maraming maniniwala na this message is really coming from my bank or from my telco because of that name. So yun lang yung magiging effect nila. Pag naniwala ka, kasi binanggit yung pangalan mo, mabibiktima ka. So you need to be very careful in clicking the links or sending reply to these messages. Pero ang pinakamagandang gawin, if you receive these messages, do not answer, do not engage. So ignore it.
All right, maraming salamat. Thank you so much for the information. And let's all keep ourselves protected and secure, especially when it comes to our data. Cybersecurity analyst Art Samaniego, thank you so much for joining us. Now join us in the conversation. Our big question tonight: have you received personalized spam messages? Tell us about your experience on our Facebook and YouTube live stream, or post a tweet with the hashtag #TheBigStory. We'll show some of your comments later on in the program. Now, after the break, we'll look into the preparations of the Cordillera region for Super Typhoon Henry. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Why not waste carbon? Roughly half of my monthly water bills pay for piping water to my London flat. The other half is for treating the wastewater I produce. That most unremarkable of facts has a climate lesson. We already pay to manage some of the waste we generate daily. Makers of electronics, batteries and vehicles are mandated by governments to clean up after the product reaches its end. Why don't we have laws for managing carbon dioxide discharge? A group of researchers at Oxford University say that we should. They call it the carbon take-back obligation. The idea is simple. Companies that extract fossil fuels should ensure that all the carbon dioxide generated from burning the fuels is put back into the ground. Technology to do this already exists. It's called carbon capture and storage. The problem is that it's expensive because few charge for dumping carbon dioxide in the air. Bringing in a carbon take-back obligation will change that and help make the technology cheaper. The researchers suggest starting small, with only about 10% of the carbon extracted put back underground by 2030. Then, ramping up to 100% by 2050 when the world it is. Except instead of charging the polluter to pay for polluting, the polluter is charged for cleaning up. The costs are also quite reasonable if you consider a story from the 19th century. The summer of 1858 brought unusually hot
It's kind of...
zero. I am Akshat Rathi. For more like this, follow us on your favorite platforms.
Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly welcome to the Walk of Fame, Avril Lavigne.
Man, I loved singing, and then when I got into high school, I wanted to start writing my own songs and started listening to more alternative bands, and I got into skateboarding and low guitars and started writing about my angst as a teenager, and the rest is history. It kind of just sort of happened. I mean, it's a lot of work. I love to sing. I had no idea this would ever happen to me, that it would work out like this on this level, that I would have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I'm so grateful 20 years later to still be rocking and doing my thing. It is crazy.
One more time, straight ahead, Avril, right? Look up there.
The latest inflation hack involves more shopping, and per usual, young consumers are leading the trend. It's called shopping to sell. Basically, you buy used goods from luxury brands like Prada or Reformation, and then you resell those products later at a higher price online.
In the first half of this year alone, the online consignment platform The Real Real saw a 50% jump in the reselling of items bought on the site by Gen Z.
But is the shopping to sell method actually going to help you fight inflation? Let's call reporter Martine Paris to find out.
Thrifting has always been a way to value shop, but in the past year it's become something of a sport for Gen Z as they've hunted items to flip for a profit, especially luxury brands that have been endorsed by celebrities. And the market remains strong as wealthy shoppers seek brands to elevate their status. Some people are seeing shopping to sell as a lucrative side gig.
And for those looking to stay on trend with your shop to sell purchases, you should focus on 90s wear as we head into the fall.
If we can pay to treat wastewater, why not waste carbon? Roughly half of my monthly water bills pay for piping water to my London flat. The other half is for treating the wastewater I produce. That most unremarkable of facts has a climate lesson. We already pay to manage some of the waste we generate daily. Makers of electronics, batteries and vehicles are mandated by governments to clean up after the product reaches its end. Why don't we have laws for managing carbon dioxide discharge? A group of researchers at Oxford University say that we should. They call it the carbon take-back obligation. The idea is simple. Companies
And you're still watching the big story here on One News. Super Typhoon Henry has slightly weakened as it decelerates over the Philippine Sea, but residents in the Cordilleras are still preparing for the effects of the super typhoon.
To give us the latest, we have Jenny Dongon reporting live from La Trinidad in Benguet. Jenny, how's the situation so far?
Jess, Gretchen, residents here in Cordillera Administrative Region are busy preparing for the onslaught of Super Typhoon Henry. Even if the region will not directly be in Henry's path, residents still expect to experience heavy rain. That's why some strawberry and lettuce farmers in the town of La Trinidad are now harvesting their produce to avoid incurring losses. Benguet's Provincial Disaster Office is already on heightened alert. They don't want to be complacent as 13 towns in the province are considered landslide-prone areas. Their land became fragile due to the recent earthquake and severe tropical storm Florita. Meanwhile, the Baguio City government has its landslide and flood mitigating equipment on standby just in case. Light to moderate rain have started to pour out here in Benguet starting at 2 in the afternoon until this evening, but there are still no evacuated residents. But as per the advice of Benguet LGU, they are ready to evacuate for any evacuation effort any time of this evening, especially in those landslide and flood-prone areas. Jess, Gretchen.
All right, thank you very much and stay safe. Again, that was Jenny Dongon reporting live from La Trinidad in Benguet. Now here to tell us the latest on Super Typhoon Henry is PAGASA weather specialist Benison Estareja. He is joining us live via Zoom. Welcome to the big story. Benny, what's the update here on Henry? Do we still have tropical cyclone wind signals raised in some areas, and is it possible for those warnings to be raised in some of those areas?
Yes, good evening, Sir Jess and Ms. Gretchen. As of 4 in the afternoon, Super Typhoon Henry was estimated at 400 kilometers east-northeast of Itbayat, Batanes. It has maximum sustained winds of 185 kilometers per hour near the center, and gustiness of up to 230 kilometers per hour. And it is currently moving southwest at 15 kilometers per hour. So starting tonight, up until tomorrow, Super Typhoon Henry will be almost stationary while northeast of Batanes. Right now, we have tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 raised over Batanes and the northeastern portion of Babuyan Island. So within the next 1.5 days, the mentioned areas may have gusty winds and some light to moderate with at times heavy rains which may cause flash floods or landslides. And in other areas po, dito sa may western section of Luzon, asahan po natin by tomorrow, starting tomorrow, magkakaroon tayo ng epekto ng habagat or southwest monsoon. Mas lalakas yung mga pag-ulan po natin dito sa may Palting, Ilocos region and Cordillera region. At uulanin na rin po by tomorrow itong western sections of central and southern Luzon, kabilang na po ang National Capital Region.
Okay, Benison, sa ngayon wala pang ulan dito sa Metro Manila. Is it going as expected, the movement of Super Typhoon Henry?
Yes, for Metro Manila, Ms. Gretchen, up until tomorrow or starting tomorrow, we will have cloudy skies na. And then the rains will start with light to moderate. And then in evening up until Saturday, dyan na po magpipit yung ating habagat. So magkakaroon tayo ng mga light to moderate with occasionally heavy rains po.
All right, thank you very much, PAGASA weather specialist Benison Estrella. Now, right after the break, we'll talk about how the city of Jolo is breaking the cycle of violence in Sulu with a special report from One News Chief Correspondent Ed Lingao. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Bitcoin prices. The Bitcoin supply model is nothing if not ingenious. If Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious creator of the original cryptocurrency, got anything right, it's his model of ultimately fixed supply delivered at a slowing, tapering rate. Let me explain. One thing that makes Bitcoin different from the average Ponzi scheme is that supply is fixed at the outset. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That much is specified in the original white paper and coded in the algorithm. And without broad community consent, something that game theory suggests would be hard to win, it can't be changed. But not only that, the rate at which Bitcoin approaches this cap is slashed in half every 4 years. Or, more accurately, the reward paid to miners for minting new Bitcoin is cut. In its infancy, the reward for recording a unit of information on the blockchain was 50 Bitcoin. By 2020, that number had fallen to 6.25. And in 2024 will be down to 3.125. And given that the rate at which blocks are mined is specified in advance, at a rate of about 1 every 10 minutes, it's clear to see that freshly mined Bitcoin enters circulation at a diminishing rate. What's more, every supply halving cycle has been met with parabolic rallies that start around the same time. In the 12 months after the last event, prices rallied as much as 600%. We're now about midway through the cycle, and that's typically been a period when prices go soft.
And we're still watching the big story here on One News. Though the island of Jolo was marred by its bloody history, its people is starting to turn the narrative around, or rather creating a new narrative. Rising from the rubble, Jolo forms a serene and safer haven for its residents and even for tourists. Let's hear more in this report by One News Chief Correspondent Ed Lingao.
It's not like your typical bar in Malate. Yes, there's a band, good food, and great company, but there's no alcohol. And you're right smack in Patikul in Jolo Island, a town that used to be known as a stronghold of the Abu Sayyaf group. This is what they call the Baywalk of Jolo, minus the Baywalk Babes.
Galing! Galing!
Ibang-iba na. Anong tawag sa salugan na to?
Maubo Pier. Sir,
This is the equivalent of...
parang baywalk nila, sir. Dati kasi, sir, di ba liguan lang nila parang luneta.
Ngayon, puro ano na?
Yeah,
puro panggabi na, no?
Yes.
Dati paggabi
6 o'clock wala ng tao.
Oo.
Before, yung lugar na to is parang gubat. So parang nagkaroon siya ng idea para magkaroon ng development ang place namin. So yun, luckily parang nagkaroon na rin kami ng nightlife dito.
Oo nga, may nightlife nga eh.
Parang minsan hanggang 11 kami. Unlike before, 8 p.m. nasa bahay na.
This is a new face of Sulu, a province long known for terrorism and the Abu Sayyaf, now trying to make inroads in tourism. Al Hassan comes here with his family to enjoy the famous Sulu sunset and this new thing called milk tea.
Tourist spot medyo na-open na, hindi na katulad ng dati, medyo gera. Tapos ngayon, okay na. Nakaka-travel ka na kahit saan.
Oo nga eh.
Yung security, okay na. Medyo hindi na magulo. Parang tulad na rin ng mga ibang lugar.
Milk tea is as far as it can get here. No alcohol is sold openly. This is, after all, still Jolo. In the last 2 years, local and military officials have made inroads in breaking the cycle of violence in Sulu.
For the past 2 years, no kidnappings, no bombings. Then yung mga tao now is enjoying yung kanilang magagandang beaches. They can come out, enjoy the beaches, and even spend evening or overnight stay sa mga lugar na ito.
Well, they do say that one of the biggest indicators of business confidence in an area is when businessmen decide to make investments. You know, big name brands, franchises. Dito po sa Jolo, hindi ako ganun kasigurado. Pero parang pamilyar yung logo na yun. Of course, that is not a real Starbucks or Paddy's Point. But the point is that people can now afford to joke about these things because they can now imagine them within reach. Nagtatanong yung mga tao doon kung sino yung Koreanang kasama raw namin. Sabi namin, sinong Koreana?
Ha? Ni hao? Ay, sorry. Anyong sayo pala.
Elsewhere in Jolo, economic activity seems to be on an upswing. Officials are now pushing the Balik Barangay program to encourage those Sugs who fled their homes in the past to come back to a new Sulu.
Yung nga na umiiyak bumabalik sila. Sabi na for a long time, nandito kami pinanganak and we never saw our house. Kung ano yung nadatna nila. So they were so happy to be back.
Sulu's history has been carved in blood. But while there is not much they can still do about the past, today's Tausugs are trying to write their own future.
We're not really like changing the narrative, but we're trying to work on creating a new narrative, a more peaceful Sulu. Kasi dati Sulu is, when you say Sulu, the last name would be tourism, war, gulong. Ngayon like Sulu, last name would be like mapayapa, maganda ang turismo.
Kamustahin natin yung Koreana sa Sulu? Kamusta yung experience doon?
It was my first time in Sulu, and Bok has been there several times. So it was nice hearing it from him that a lot has changed in terms of atmosphere, in terms of tension, mas kalma na yung mga tao, and we see a lot of progress, a lot of growth in terms of being able to see businesses, new businesses come forth, and doon sa Baywalk nila, mayroon ng banda nagpe-play, people can go out now. But I also got the feel that the peace situation is relatively new. And they were saying that ito, bago lang to sa pandemic lang, marami na neutralized na mahalaga, and na-limit yung movement of the Abu Sayyaf group. Meron na rin nagbabalik barangay, meron na rin sumusuko. So, kailangan pangalagaan yun, kailangan protektahan. That, what we're seeing now, I keep on telling Bok Ed Lingao, I mean, it's a privilege for him to be telling this story that's so different and so far from what he told years ago. So I hope it continues on.
Sana. And like what you pointed out about how the pandemic was actually a good jumpstart point to actually make these changes in Sulu. So at least something good which came out from that period, no?
It just needs a lot of push, a lot of consistency, and for everybody there to want that peace to be lasting.
All right. And with that, we wrap up tonight's big story. For more updates, follow News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more in-depth analysis. I'm Jess De Los Santos.
The big story is also available via Signal Play app. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News anytime, anywhere. I'm Gretchen Hall. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.